Hello, everybody. And again, this is Radio Entrepreneurs, constantly streaming stories of entrepreneurship, leadership, and how people are dealing with this new economy. We appreciate the thousands of listeners and guests that we've had on almost over a million listeners and thousands of guests. I should be clear. Our next guest is Will Burns, founder and CEO of Ideasicle X, correct?
You got it.
Well, I got to know what an sickle is. I keep on thinking of a popsicle. So,
It's funny you bring that up, if you don't mind me jumping in here, because that's to name a company. Most entrepreneurs know this, that it's almost impossible to find a name that's available, that you can get the URL for, you can get the trademark for. And I was beating my head against the wall trying to come up with an appropriate name. And my wife, this is a true story, my wife was reaching into the freezer, pulling out a popsicle for my son, and she looked at me and said, "How about Ideasicle?" I was like, yes. And so
I'm just stupid enough to think of that. See?
Yeah.
Right away, it made me think of popsicle.
Yeah, so we actually got in a little trouble with Unilever on that in the beginning, but we were able to keep the name, not our imagery at the time.
I haven't had a popsicle. I can't remember, but I prefer to have, if I was going to break down, I think I'd rather have a fudgicle.
Yeah, right. I'd rather have an Ideasicle myself.
So tell us, what is an Ideasicle?
Yeah, so I've been in advertising for 30 years, and for 20 of those years, I was at very creative agencies like Wieden Kennedy and Goodby and Arnold and Mullen, all around the country. And I met some incredible creative people. And it occurred to me when crowdsourcing was starting to take hold that what if I could use technology to break down the borders of advertising agencies? So instead of an agency having to be in Boston or be in Minneapolis or wherever, what if the agency could be anywhere because the people could be anywhere? And so that was the concept of Ideasicle, where I invited 30 of my favorite creative people ever. And they weren't all in the creative department, though most of them were. A lot of them were strategists. Some were even clients that I thought were particularly creative that could bring a certain perspective to certain projects. And I would go out and get the new business. I would work on the creative briefs. I would assemble the team. They would work behind the scenes virtually in teams of 4 and come up with ideas, leaving their egos at the door, which was no small feat in the advertising business. And then I would present the ideas to the clients. We'd get paid and we'd move on. And so that was the original construct of Ideasicle. And then I started building a platform for that. And it occurred to me as I was building that platform, why should I have all the fun? We had been using a third-party software, productivity software that we were reverse engineering to get this to work. And it was okay, but it wasn't great. And so when I started designing the SaaS platform, that's when it occurred to me, this could be an open platform. This could change the world. Anybody could use this to put 4 people together to come up with ideas for anything. And so that's where the big pivot happened about 2 years ago. And the platform is launching this week.
Just this week. And are there particular types of clients that you're looking to work with?
We're targeting advertising agencies in the beginning, primarily, well, for 2 reasons. One, I know the business really well, and so I know how to market to them. But number 2, they're sort of the PGA Tour of ideas. Their whole lifeblood is ideas. So they have an urgent need for this. And they typically spend, depending on the size of the agency, they could spend millions in freelance help for various projects, pitches, things like that. And so I'm trying to tap into that market because this is a far more efficient way to hire freelance help. And you actually get way more ideas than you would with just a couple freelancers.
Interesting. And I would assume it's a very competitive field. How do you feel you're going to stick out?
Well, I think it's going to stick out in that we're already focused only on ideas. We're not involved in execution. And so there aren't a lot of companies out there that do that take that risk, that acknowledge the value of the ideas. Most agencies actually make their money through time of staff. And so you need to execute the ideas in order to make any money. And with this model, it's completely turned upside down, where it's only about the ideas. And so there are very few out there. There are some crowdsourcing sites, which this is not, but there are some out there where you can get logos designed or you can come up with ideas. But this is very different in two ways. One, with Ideasicle X, the team of 4 is not competing against each other to come up with a quote winning idea. They're actually all on the same team, and they're encouraged to post ideas, and the rest of the team gets pinged, and then they can go in and build and riff on those ideas. And that's the real magic of this platform, I think.
Well, interesting. And, you talked about the 30 people that you brought with you. That's quite a formidable group. Your sort of all-star team. Can you talk to us a little bit about the all-star team?
Yeah, well, pretty much every single person I approached with this idea accepted. And I think it's because, advertising is a tough business. It's really, really fun on the idea side. And all of these people are idea people at heart. But they all had, creative projects on the side, because oftentimes in advertising, there's the business of advertising, which isn't the idea part. There's the stress, there's the pleasing clients, there's the politics within an agency. All that stuff sort of gets in the way of creativity. And so I think they were drawn to the concept of freewheeling ideas. That's all you got to worry about, is coming up with ideas. Don't worry about the clients. Don't worry about meetings even. It's all time deferred. Just focus on coming up with great ideas. So I think for them, it was sort of their photography on the weekend in the old days. This was a way for them to be creative in a way that was still right in the meat of advertising with our clients.
Interesting. Do you see any new trends in advertising and marketing since COVID?
Well, a couple things that I've noticed just talking to a lot of agencies, and that is originally, say back in March or April, agencies really freaked out because all of a sudden they couldn't be together, yet they still had to not only serve their clients, they had to serve panicking clients. Right. Everybody was pivoting at that time. They've got a campaign that's about to launch in June. Suddenly it's not appropriate anymore. And so they have to shelve it and they have to come up with something without being together, remember. They have to come up with something that's going to launch at that time that is appropriate for pandemic era. And so I think what agencies found was how much they could do remotely. I think they surprised themselves at how much they could do remotely and not actually being together. And even their relationships with their clients in many ways, I think, improved because as we all know, we've been Zoomified. Everything is Zoom. So, but what came out of that is if you think about how ad agencies used to work with clients, it was, email, maybe a phone call, and monthly meetings in person. Well, now you're on face-to-face with a client every single day, maybe 3 times. And so there's a lot more information gained from a client when you're looking right at them, talking about even the more mundane things. So I think the client relationships actually improved as a result of all this, not to mention the common enemy that they had.
I can't imagine how the whole world of advertising and marketing has changed since all of this. I worked for Doyle Day and Byrne back in the 1970s.
Oh, great.
And it was quite an experience to be in such, maybe the world's greatest creative agency at the time, and the genius of all the campaigns around me. It was just an amazing experience and great to have. If someone's looking for you and your agency and wants to learn more about it, how would they find you?
They can find us at ideasiclex.com, and that's idea, and then SICLE, like the popsicle, x.com, ideasiclex.com.
Well, I hope you come back and talk about some creative cases that you work on and how you solve those marketing problems.
I'd love that, Jeffrey.
That's great. I like what you're doing. It's probably a very innovative model for this economy. And remind everybody that this is Radio Entrepreneurs, and we'll be back with more stories.